So let me just see if I can frame this very broadly, 40,000, 30,000, and then I'll get down to the ground and I'll try to do it in about 3 or 4 minutes. The big frame is that the United States of America is heading in the right direction, that we're actually a safer country than we have been, that racially we're better than we were 50 years ago. But as well as the country is doing, we are leaving a lot of people behind, and we can't be as good as what we want to be or what we aspire to be or what we profess to be if everybody doesn't come with us. And that forces us to have very difficult conversations that include things that always involve race, which are really hard for us because we don't know how to do it well. And so I'll say you can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you got to go through it. And we're having that conversation voluntarily and involuntarily in the country. And in that context comes the destruction of New Orleans. Thank you all so much for helping us stand back up. The city is doing spectacularly well. We have turned ourselves around. We've reconstructed our education system, our healthcare system, all of that stuff that we had to do, we're doing, and you'd be amazed at really what position the city's in right now. And Jeff is right, as the mayor, I'm doing all of those things. But what happens to me is that every day, I don't have my phone with me, but I get a text from my police chief, and it's pretty much the same thing every day. And I make him do it. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to advise you that last night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, shots rang out in Lower 9 in the 7th Ward in Gertown, Central City. We arrived at the scene. We found a young African-American male laying face down on the ground, head blown out. He was dead on arrival, over and over and over again. So in the context of what my father told me on the day of my inauguration, he once was the mayor, and I was looking for great advice. And I said, can you tell me how to be the mayor? He said, you own every pothole now. And in that regard, what he was trying to tell me is that I'm responsible for everything in the city. And so as this continued to happen day after day after day after day, I continued to tell my team, something's wrong. What is going on? And then I started to look into this issue. And what I found was startling to me, and it will startle you. But suffice it to say that I made the decision that the city of New Orleans can never be a great place if everybody in the city doesn't come along with us. And who are the ones who are being hurt the most? Who are the ones who are most marginalized? Who are the ones that need the most help? And if lives are important, and if Black Lives Matter, and by the way, this is way before that slogan came about, we really ought to be thinking about how many kids are getting killed on the streets of New Orleans pretty much every day. So because I'm kind of defensive about my city, and I know that we don't live in isolation and we're part of this great United States of America, I kind of started looking around and seeing whether this was just because I was a bad mayor. I mean, are you a bad guy? You can't protect the streets of the city? Why is this happening? Why can't you stop it? I needed to know what it was, what the cause of it was. And this was really about saving a person's life. It's really simple. Saving a person's life. Where do you fight crime? You fight crime where it is. Where do you save people? You save people wherever they are. So you go to where the problem is, then you have to identify it. So I did. And I looked around, and what I found out was since 1980 in the United States of America, 630,000 American citizens have been killed on the streets of America, 630,000. I didn't really have any context for that, so I didn't know whether it sounded like a lot to me, right? It sounded like that's not a place where I really wanted to live. And I started thinking about it because we have the World War II Museum in New Orleans that commemorates the greatest generation. Come to find out that 630,000 since 1980 is more American citizens than were killed in all of the wars of the 20th century. Let me say that again. All of the American citizens killed in all of the wars of the 20th century, World War I, World War II, all of it. That's when I said, you know what, we got a problem. And there is a culture of violence that permeates in certain segments of the United States of America. And by the way, it is white and it is black. But what I was concerned about were the people that I was responsible for, and people were getting killed in my city. And this is what those numbers look like. About somewhere between 150 to 200 a year, 8 times the national average. 95% of the victims of crime in my city are young African-American men. They're between 16 and 25, and 88% of them know each other. That's my reality as the mayor of the city, and I want to find an answer to that, which led me into this discussion. And the first disagreement that he and I had when we never talked is I have used the phrase a culture of violence that evidently tweaks people's brains and says it's really not a culture, and black people are not as bad as white people, and as many white people get killed, and got into this whole discussion about race and how we see each other. And I used the term because I used it in a specific way, and that is a pattern of behavior that developed over time that has produced a certain result over and over again so that it became a normative action for some people. Because in my city, when I talk to my young men, who I speak with on a frequent basis, they say, hey man, Mayor, it's kill or be killed. I have a gun because if I don't have one, somebody's going to shoot me. I have to protect myself. It's very rational to want to shoot somebody if you feel threatened. And so we have been trying to investigate what this is, how it works, what it really means, and how we get into finding a way to move the city from a city of violence into a city of peace. And by the way, it's only in 4 or 5 neighborhoods in the city. So here's my problem. You want to come to my city, don't you? Because the city's wonderful. It's a spectacular place. We've got the Essence Festival, the Jazz Festival, and you want to ask me, is your city safe? Somebody asked me that, is your city safe?
Is your city safe?
Yeah, it depends. If you are a tourist coming into town, if you're a middle-class African-American or a middle-class white, and you're coming to my city and you want to come enjoy it, you're as safe in my city as you are any place else in the world. But if you're a young African-American man and you have a problem getting a job and you've had some interaction with the criminal justice system and you live in one of 4 neighborhoods, you're an endangered species. And by the way, this is an epidemic. All over America, in every city, in 5, 6, 7 neighborhoods, you get into an issue where you have a huge problem. And that is the essential problem that I'm trying to address, trying to solve, and trying to have a thoughtful discussion about it, because if I'm not speaking about it in the right way and I'm not engaging people in the right way, then something's wrong, because this is a problem that has to be solved and it can be solved.